Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the South Cambridgeshire series, 103 parishes in a district that completely surrounds the city of Cambridge in Cambridgeshire. Let's get to it. Welcome back to South Cambridgeshire, everybody, and I'm pleased to tell you that the mist that you saw in the Count episode last week is now starting to lift. So hopefully we're going to see this place in all its glory. And to be honest with you, I know full well that this one's got a lot of very nice buildings. Here's the first one. Look at this. Amazing thatched house right at the beginning of my route. You'll find this and plenty other fantastic houses in the parish of Barton. This video is sponsored by Bassett Law Pro Clean, specialist floor and upholstery cleaners based in Retford, Nottinghamshire. Do you have a commercial space, own a restaurant, hotel or pub, maybe an office block? Bassett Law Pro Clean cover the entire country for commercial work. And they have a special offer. Quote the Village Idiot when you inquire and get a massive 7.5% off. Need it cleaned by the experts? Contact Bassett Law Pro Clean now. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. There are many UK villages by the name of Barton. We've covered 2 of them already. Well, here's a third, this one just 1 mile from the M11 in South Cambridgeshire. It's about 4 miles south of Cambridge itself, and it's been described in the past as a different level of breathtaking. I mean, it's not wrong. Mentioned in the Domesday Book as Bartone, it was at that time part owned by Robert the Count of Mortain, a Norman nobleman who was the half-brother of William the Conqueror. It was probably settled way before those times though, owing to the fact it sits on the Roman Road Akeman Street, which once connected the counties of Hertfordshire and Gloucestershire. Although there are some businesses here and the village is a thriving place, most of the people who live here are commuters. The proximity of the M11 means that it's become a desirable place for those working in London or who need access to Stansted Airport just 30 minutes drive away. Local amenities include 2 pubs, a traditional village shop and post office, and the area's only petrol station, which is attached to a car franchise. Then there's Burwash Manor Barns, which is a whole different ballgame entirely. Since 1993, Barton has also been the headquarters of the Countryside Restoration Trust. It's all centred around a pond and some pretty impressive buildings. Let's go for a walk and see why people love Barton in Cambridgeshire so much. We start on Comberton Road at the late 18th and early 19th century Dale's Barn, one of 23 listed buildings here in Barton. It faces the lovely little village pond, which as you can see is pretty full with water. That wasn't the case just over a year ago. The record-breaking summer heat last year caused it to almost dry up, resulting in the loss of many of its fish. At 2A Comberton Road is Barton Hair Studio. Its team have over 25 years experience and offer both ladies and gents hairdressing. Attached to the same building is Conker's Stores, a traditional village shop and post office which is open 7 days a week. On the corner in front of all of this is a parish notice board, and you know what that means. 11 down, 92 to go, folks. How about this for a pretty cool bus shelter? Like Grantchester, Barton is served by the number 18 from Cambridge to St Neots. Next to the shelter on a little green is a marker commemorating Barton's Platinum Jubilee celebrations in 2022. Moving on to the high street now, we find a phone box, and in keeping with the theme, again, this is now a book exchange. Here's another fabulous Grade 2 listed thatched cottage, number 18 High Street, again dating back to the late 17th century. Okay, so this next part of the route will take us down to the recreation ground, the playing field, and it will link us to the main road that goes to the south of Barton, the A603, where there's a petrol station, which I've already used this morning because I needed some fuel, or else I'm not going to get home later. So we're going to head down towards that, and then we'll come back along another road which takes us up to the church. You can actually get to the church from here. If you look to your left as you look at it, you can see like a little opening just there. There's a little path there that takes you down to the church, but we don't need to use that. We'll get to the church later. So onward towards the playing field, although the next thing to talk about is this building here on the left. The building in question is Barton Baptist Chapel. There's scarce information about this out there, but it's still an active church. Remember the sheltered housing in Grantchester? Over the way is Great Close, another of South Cambridgeshire's schemes. The majority of the high street is detached or semi-detached housing. It's not the widest road in the world, but that doesn't actually matter. The playing field has a public car park at this end, so that makes life a little easier if you're a visitor. Let's see what else it has. For a start, there's Barton Bowls Club, which is sponsored by Wallace & Son. Keep that name in mind, we'll see them shortly. There's a football pitch, tennis courts, a playground, plenty of general recreation space, and a tarmacked path through it all. The path passes a water pump and two more lovely thatches named the Lees and Meadow Cottage, all a Grade 2 listed. And we emerge onto the A603 Wimpole Road, which to the northeast runs to the M11 at junction 12 and then on into Cambridge. There's room for one more listed building in this section, number 59 Wimpole Road, thatched, timber framed and 17th century. Okay, so in a moment we'll come to the petrol station which I was talking about earlier. When we reach that, we're going to take a left turn and it'll take us past a pub and back up into the main village again. We'll take a right turn after that, and that leads to the church, and really after that we're sort of all the way around. It's not a very big place, this, to be honest with you, although I do have one thing I will have to drive around later, which is going to be interesting. Wimpole Road is where you'll find Barton's other main area of business, effectively based around a local petrol station. Despite being so close to the M11, this area doesn't have a massive number of petrol stations, so this one does pretty well. Attached to it are Land Rover specialist Wallace & Son, whose history in the motor trade goes back well over a century. On the corner of the high street is the White Horse, one of Barton's two pubs. This has a sister pub in Cambridge called the Cricketers. The rest of the high street is residential. Barton has become, over the last few decades, a desirable place for the commuter. The fact it's so close to the M11 and to Stansted Airport means more and more people are choosing to pitch up in this village. That said, it hasn't grown massively. Mayles Close is one of the few examples of modern development around the old village core. So even though this street is a dead end, if you're driving by car or by van or whatever other vehicle, you can walk through onto another street and that'll take you towards the church and everything else that's remaining here in Barton, including the school and another pub. So let's get to it. At the end of the estate is what's known as an amenity area. I'm not 100% sure what this is actually for, but it's joined to the churchyard. This is dedicated to St Peter and probably originated in the 11th century, but most of it was rebuilt in the 14th. The exact date of its foundation is not known, but a 1270 document indicates an anchorite was living in a cell beside the church. The exterior is very simple, composed of only an aisleless nave, a chancel, a small south porch and a tall west tower. It was locked, but if you ever get the chance to go inside this one, do so for its wonderful 14th century wall paintings that decorate the nave. One of them is a rare depiction of St Anthony and the pig. St Anthony had a reputation for healing animals as well as people. We've now reached School Lane, where there are 3 main landmarks left: the village hall, the school and a pub. The village hall is the hub of this community, used by many local organisations. It has a maximum capacity of 80 people. The primary school serves children from the village and from nearby Grantchester, which, as you'll recall, has no school now. And the pub is the Hoops. Originally a cottage, it dates back to 1776 and at one time it was owned by the University of Cambridge. Okay, we're back to almost where we began. You can see the village pond behind me, you can see the bus shelter and the shop, which is away to the right. We have completed the circuit of Barton. However, there is one thing that I have purposely not walked to because I need to drive to it. You see, at the end of School Lane, it's a dead end, but there is a gate, but you can't walk through said gate because it's private property. On the other side of that gate, there's a big shopping centre, and it's not like any kind of shopping centre that you're probably used to. It's not like a retail park or anything like that. Oh no, it's full of independent shops. So we're going to take the car in and drive around that to finish with, and then I've got a special section for you once I decide what I'm actually going to put in the special section. The reason I say that is because there's plenty around the village that I still have not yet talked about. So let's go to the car, hop in it, and we'll see what this shopping centre's like, shall we? Describing itself as where retail meets the countryside, this is Burwash Manor, which attracts visitors from all over Cambridgeshire and beyond. It's based around 2 courtyards of converted farm buildings which house a collection of independent, unique shops, a cafe with both indoor and outdoor seating, and a beauty salon, all open 7 days a week. Burwash Manor offers a friendly and peaceful shopping experience, the perfect antidote to the crush of the high street, and whatever the season, there's always something happening here. Burwash Manor has been owned by the Radford family for over 100 years and is currently owned by the 4th generation. The shopping complex is part of a working farm that covers 400 acres, part of which is not accessible to the public, hence the private gate at the end of School Lane. That said, the farm does have signposted walks, which anyone can turn up and do at any time, and it also runs organised educational visits. It all sounds like a cracking day out to me, this. I couldn't decide on one specific thing to focus on for the special section, so I've decided to go for 3. First of all, just 200 yards to the north of the village is the Cambridge Rifle Range, where regular military training takes place. It's not the biggest range in the world, but it stretches for 1,200 yards, almost 3/4 of a mile. To the northwest of the village is the Barton Glebe Woodland Burial Ground. This is divided into 2 sections named Barton North and South Glebe. The site covers almost 40 acres and the South Glebe has nearly 10,000 trees planted since the turn of the millennium. The burial ground was also the first of its kind ever to be consecrated. Lastly, these dishes belong to the Mullard Radio Astronomy Observatory, positioned along the former Cambridge to Oxford railway line, known more commonly as the Varsity Line. These are not within the parish boundaries, but can be seen from Barton if you know where to look. We'll see these in more detail in a future episode. And with all that covered, the lovely village of Barton is now complete. Now to make for the M11 just 1 mile away, which runs between the village and Grantchester. Next week we'll be in a place that couldn't be more different to Barton. Whilst this is a very old village, next week's only grew up in the late 1960s. I'll see you up the road. Thanks for watching this video, folks. Don't forget to like this episode if you haven't already. It really makes a difference with YouTube. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and give us a share too if you've got friends who'd like it. You can find all the links to my social media accounts below, as well as my Buy Me a Coffee page where you can donate to the channel. Also, if you've enjoyed this episode, have a look at some more videos in this series. Until next time, I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.